Welcome to the Beyond Jiu-Jitsu podcast. This is episode 161. I'm your co-host, Kieren Lefebvre, and I'm joined by Adam Childs.
Hello, Kieren. I don't know why in my head, very rarely that I do the intros and not you, but for some reason I knew this was episode 161 because we did Ask a Black Belt 160 last week, but for some reason I was going to blurt out episode 167. I don't know why. So I don't know. So yeah, best keep the intros to you. What's going on, man? What's going on since last week?
Well, we're just briefly touching on, you asked me about my knee, which is relevant to this episode because we're talking about injuries, talking about a couple things. But yeah, you were asking me about the knee and how that's going. So I finally saw a orthopedic surgeon about it. And yeah, so he...
With a MRI? No, you didn't get an MRI though, did you?
Not yet, but that's part of the story.
Oh,
Yeah. So basically, what happened is I was going for a Choi bar entry, and my knee popped, and I saw a physio, and the physio said that he thinks it's grade 2 LCL tear, and he wasn't sure. Blah blah blah. Referred me on to orthopedics at the hospital. So I finally heard back from them. I was complaining that they didn't get back to me. They got back to me, and I went and saw the orthopedics. Initially, on his initial assessment, like he got me to do squats and shit and yada yada, asked me a bunch of questions, asked me about pain, and then he was kind of dismissive, to be honest. He's like, "Hey, whatever, kind of, it doesn't sound that bad, Basically, yeah, it was real dismissive. Thought that it was nothing. Thought that maybe it was just a strain. It's all good now. And he's like, "Yeah, well, I may as well assess you." And he assessed it. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not really feeling anything." He's like, "Well, since we're here, we may as well get the X-ray." And we went into the X-ray room. It's really interesting. It's not like a traditional old school X-ray.
An X-ray though.
Yeah. Let me explain it. Let me explain it. So it's not like an old school X-ray where you just get an X-ray of the bone. It was really cool. I've never seen an X-ray machine like this, but it takes X-rays in real time. So he's in the room with me, and he's manipulating my knee, and it's constantly taking X-rays, and he's watching it in real time. So what he did...
It's like a fancy ultrasound-ish.
Almost, yeah,
thing.
But it's straight up X-rays. Like he's got a foot pedal. He's using his hands to manipulate the movement of my knee to see the gap between the my bones, right? So the way he was doing it is he was doing a stability test or an LCL integrity test whilst taking X-rays to see the space that was being created in between my bones. Right. So the LCL is the lateral crucial ligament. If you don't know what a ligament is, it connects bone to bone, different from a tendon, which connects muscle to bone. So the LCL, the way you do the integrity test, is a lateral movement of the knee. So he laterally manipulated my knee, forced the end range movement, and then was taking X-rays in real time, and then stopped it when he got the position, and then he measured the gapping distance between the bone, and then he compared it to my right knee, which is my healthy knee.
Very, very interesting. Did he look like someone who had been exposed to too much?
No, because he had all the metal, like he had the apron, like the heavy duty metal apron on his neck and everything like that. But it was super cool, right? I hadn't seen that sort of X-ray procedure before, and he's like, "Look, this isn't an exact science. This is just going to tell us if we need an MRI," which is essentially the thought process behind it. But it was fucking cool, man. I was really, really interested. And after that, he was like, "Oh shit, yeah, you got a big gap." so it's funny that his assessment, his assessment of it, and asking the questions, he was like, the tone changed super quick. Like he was very dismissive, and then after he got the X-ray, he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we definitely need an MRI."
Yeah, right. Interesting.
He actually thinks that because of how much gap there, he was basically saying he would be surprised if the damage was isolated to the LCL alone, because if you get the thought process being that if there is enough pressure and trauma, if you will, to the knee that causes a grade 2 LCL tear, chances are that something else is going to be along with it. But if it is just isolated LCL, that'd be good. So the MRI is going to tell us if we need to if it's bad enough to get surgery or, what the actual recovery time is. But it's looking like it might be a pretty, not severe, but like a worse version of a grade 2 than initially thought, which kind of sucks ass.
And so have you booked in an MRI?
Yeah. So a 2-week turnaround for the MRI. So should be getting one next week. We're recording this on a Monday. You listen to this on a Friday, but so this time next week, so maybe in 2 episodes time, I should have the results. Potentially.
Have you ever had an MRI before?
Oh yeah, plenty of times. But I had one on my knee. Remember when I hurt my knee at the park? I got an MRI then.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, I got an MRI.
Knee slammed into the mats we had in the park, and
it was just inflamed, really. But lots of fluid. But no actual integrity damage. But for this one, it was very audible pop, and Anyway, bloody knees, mate. Gotta do more squats.
Yeah, do more squats, bro. Jeez.
Yeah, I've been doing heaps of lower body work though. Like I've been doing my own rehab because no one here. It's funny in Australia when you see a physio, they normally give you a rehab program, and if you're seeing a decent one. But I haven't gotten anything from anyone that I've seen. No rehab, no guidance on like, oh, do this, avoid that. So I've just been using my own knowledge on the topic of strength and conditioning, prehab, rehab work, a little bit of research into LCL specifically, and just doing my own thing. But man, I've been squatting, been lunging, been doing everything, doing glute specific exercises, isolated stuff to strengthen around the knee, and I'm having no dramas.
Yeah, right. Oh. Be good to get some peace of mind with the MRI, even if it is just them saying, there's no need to operate or whatever. And you don't know until you get that high level scan to really know what's going on the inside. And then to be honest, even then, I've had MRIs. I had one not long ago to follow up with my knee surgery from last year, and because it still wasn't feeling good. And essentially the MRI showed that everything's fine, and this is just kind of how my knee is now. It's if I didn't do what I did for a living, probably wouldn't even think about it. But because I expect so much more from it, I kind of notice every little thing that goes wrong with it. And even though the MRI showed it was fine, the surgeon still said something along the lines of, oh yeah, see this image here? And he picked like a photo from inside someone else's knee, like a photo that would have been from a textbook or something. He said, it probably looks like that in there, as in he's not 100% sure. Like the MRI doesn't show everything. He said, we could do the surgery and I would get in there and it would probably look like this and I could clean it up and whatever. And so, even the MRI doesn't show everything.
Yeah.
But it at least tells you whether you need to get on an operating table or not, really.
Yeah, exactly right. And realistically, man, if I hypothetically, the worst case scenario was like, oh yeah, we could probably operate, I probably wouldn't go for it. I'd just focus in on, doing the rehab for as long as I could, and then go back, and you know what I mean? I'd rather spend that 6 months working on rehab rather than spend like more like 12 months working on recovery, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
I want to give that a go first, because it's clearly not torn completely. Like it's not a grade 3. So the odds of needing surgery, I think, are pretty low, but whatever. Anyway, fucking jiu-jitsu, boys.
Yeah,
is what it
so
is.
good. So
is
good.
what it is. But on the bright side, man, if I didn't have as much like muscle and stability around my knee, I think I'd be in a bit of a worse position. Because it's really interesting. Everyone I've seen, like the physio and now the surgeon, they were a little bit dismissive initially, like, you look fine, and then they actually see it and then like, oh fuck. It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so funny, but it's good because it shows that what I'm doing is actually helping.
Yeah. I mean, it's a similar situation to Joey. So Joey being one of my my black belt who does strength movement and is in that industry as well, has really good range of motion in all his joints, like way more than the average person who is fit and healthy. So when he tore his ACL, he, even 12 months, whatever, 18 months post-surgery, he's still not happy with his range of motion, but his range of motion would be more than mine is, but it's not what it used to be for him, And so it'd be very easy to dismiss him like with his complaints. And I remember he went back to the surgeon multiple times, still being unhappy with it. But I think it's the standard that he wants from his knee is really high, and so he can quite easily be dismissed. It's like, yeah, you can squat, you can run, you can, twist your knee, do all these things that says you're okay. But he's like, nah, man, it's still not good.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to compare yourself to your own baseline. You know what I mean? So he's obviously very aware of his body, very aware of his baseline. And if it's not close to his previous baseline, then something's wrong.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about injuries and injuries in training and competition a little bit more specifically is what I really want to mention, because your injury happened in just a generic movement.
Yeah.
There's no, I would say your injury was just one of those, lack of a better term, just freak accident.
Yeah.
There's the same way that you can be just walking down the street and maybe roll your ankle and severely hurt, seriously injure it, tear a ligament in your ankle or something. Or not even that. You didn't even roll your ankle. You know how sometimes maybe you just walk. Have you ever had that where sometimes you're walking, and now that I'm saying it, I haven't done this in ages, but have you ever had those times where you're walking and for no reason whatsoever you accidentally like lock out your knee, almost like a flamingo leg, and sort of then just go, oh, I can like step incorrectly. You know, so you can hurt yourself. That's kind of what your injury was. It was one of those ones that there was nothing and it just happened.
Yeah.
And not too dissimilar to my second knee surgery, which was, I was knee on belly on someone and they just hip escaped and pushed my knee off their belly. And my knee just went just from that. So it was actually, I barely moved at all. But we had a competition recently here a couple of weeks back that I had a few students go to. And one of my white belt students is now looking at a potential LCL and lateral meniscus tears, not sure how bad they are, in both knees from this competition. And it was funny because we also had a grading last week. So we had the competition and then 6 days later we had a grading, and he turned up to the grading Sambo style with his gi top on and his belt. And because he didn't put gi pants on, he could barely walk. He had knee braces on both knees and was hella messed up. And what had happened to him in the competition was that he got caught in a straight foot lock and the guy turned belly down. And, Hugo, the student, he didn't tap, but his knee popped. And I remember in the match, he turned, I didn't quite hear him at the time, but he turned to me and he said something like, "Oh my God, did you hear that?" His knee popped, and somehow his other knee got messed up as well. I'm not sure how his other knee got caught up in it. But nothing drastically looked real wrong about it. If you're watching it from a spectator point of view, of course, as we just said, your knee popped just doing a simple, more or less a windshield wiper movement, right?
Yep, exactly. Yep.
And your knee popped. So obviously things can break at any point. But it's not like you would have looked at it and gone, "Man, oh my God, like he's lucky not to have broken something. That dude ripped on it," or, "Oh man, it was twisted. It was cringe to look at." No, it was just a belly down footlock. And, Hugo's now in a similar situation to you. He's got his MRI booked in, waiting to get the MRI and then get the results. As he said, it's like a 2-week turnaround. But it definitely made me think a little bit as to the importance of the rules and more specifically the restrictions to certain techniques, to certain belts in jiu-jitsu, because I watched that play out and there was no animosity, there was no bad intentions or anything, yet despite the fact that things can just pop and tear whenever, I think that specific situation would have been very hard pressed for that to have resulted in such a severe injury at a higher belt, you know? And a lot of people always ask, you know, oh, why can't you do, talking about leg locks specifically, oh, I can only do a straight foot lock until brown belt. Again, we're talking about standard rules. Okay. It changes the rules change between gi and no gi, even if you are operating in IBJJF, but obviously competitions like ADCC and obviously competitions like Grappling Industries have slightly different rules, and whatever other event that gets put on, they can make up their rules whatever they want. But you always hear that, right? You know, white belts or lower belts being like, what? I can only do a straight foot lock until this level. And this was a clear example for me as to why that's the case. Because, or let's say even more importantly, you know, like why are kids, juveniles, teens, you know, whatever way you want to break up the ages, why aren't they allowed to do, you know, any type of leg locks and what? It's like, mate, because it's so easy to hurt the opponent or to be the person in the submission and do the wrong thing and go from what was supposed to be your last competition of the year and a bit of fun and whatever. And then, you know, now the dude might be booking in for a surgery at Christmas time, you know? So I'm actually all for actually going to like be on IBJJF side here a little bit with the restricting of certain techniques to certain belts.
Yeah, I'm totally for it. I'm more than supportive of heel hooks specifically being restricted to brown belt and up. I think that is more than appropriate time for it. Only thing I'd say is if you leave it till brown belt to learn them, you're going to be at a severe disadvantage. So in the training room, absolutely, you should be participating in leg locks, in my opinion, from blue belt up. Start like going for heel hooks, learning that leg entanglement game. Maybe it's not your game, but you need to be familiar and comfortable with the position. But when it comes to competition, we all know there's a big difference between competing and training. Very, very big difference. So I absolutely agree with IBJJF stance on leg locks being restricted, or specifically heel hooks and knee bars being restricted to brown belt and up. I'm okay with knee bars, but you got to draw the line at somewhere. Totally happy with it. Totally fine. Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And exactly what you said as well. If you leave it to brown belt to learn it, that's no good. So our rule in the gym to draw a line somewhere is we say in training, blue belts and up can do whatever. Can do heel hooks, can do, wrist locks, toe holds, whatever it is. You can do everything that's inside the rules. And then white belts not. Obviously, I do have some white belts who train enough that they do a bit of both and it's fine. But that's the generic line we put in the sand, because you obviously want to then when you go to compete at that belt, be ready. Or what if one day they change the rules and they say, okay, now purple belts and above can do heel hooks in competition. And you're a purple belt that was like, oh, shit, I was waiting till brown belt to learn that.
Yeah. No,
So
you can't do that.
So you definitely, and then when people say something along the lines of, yeah, but you can't do that in competition, yada, yada, yada. And you go, yeah, but you know what you also can't do in competition? Like throw a punch. Yet we learn, self-defense techniques in jiu-jitsu, right? So like you still learn stuff that you won't do in a competition.
Mm.
But yeah, for newer students who haven't yet played with the leg game, the way that I always describe it when someone asks me why can't you do it is because I explain it like this. If we take a whatever else submission short of a choke, because some chokes you don't, in little air quotes, feel anything and then you pass out.
Mm-hmm.
Not as simple as that, but you know what I mean.
Mm.
Is, let's say, an armbar or a Kimura or something. If 0 is nothing and 100 is something tearing or breaking, maybe an armbar you might feel something at, let's say, like 60%, and so you've got this big 40% window in which you have time to tap before something breaks. But with heel hooks, a lot of the time you don't feel anything till 95. So you've got such a small opportunity to tap before something pops or tears.
Mm.
And I would go as far to say that in professional competition, almost all heel hooks in a professional competition, the person who's been submitted has had something tear or pop, because the intensity that professional athletes put on that submission is kind of no different to the intensity a boxer tries to throw an overhand, or an MMA fighter tries to throw an overhand, or whatever. If a boxer throws a body shot and it breaks your rib, like, he doesn't care. You know, it's not like he necessarily was hoping to break the rib, but like, man, it's like, it's part of it. You know, if he hits you and he, you know, breaks your orbital bone, I think it's called, right? Like your eye socket or something, which is quite a severe injury. It's not like he was necessarily going into the fight going, I'm going to break his, I'm literally going to break the bone in his eye. But I mean, it happens. And they're trying to throw that punch and land that punch as hard as possible. So in a professional scenario, when money's on the line, when an ADCC title's on the line or whatever, you think they're even wanting that window to be open at all? No, like, and it can be so hard to even catch the submission that they're going for it. By the time the other dude taps and the other dude lets go, something's been torn or at least popped, I would say, in majority of professional matches. So that's how I explain it to people. And as I said, newer students, if you're not yet playing or have played with leg locks, that's where a bit of the danger lies. I remember when Levi Jones-Leary, who for the uneducated is one of Australia's top black belts, when he first moved back maybe it wasn't when he first moved back to Australia. Anyway, he did a stint like a few months down in Melbourne training with Lachlan Giles, which is now where he lives and trains and teaches at Absolute MMA. And he just went down for maybe a week or two. And then when he came back to training in Sydney, I remember him telling me that just from drilling heel hooks, his knees were sore. Like the outsides and insides of his knees were sore just from drilling heel hooks for a week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you definitely do have to be careful with them, because the last thing you want is some spaz who doesn't know what they're doing ripping on it. And, you know, yeah, the line has to be somewhere. And for our gym, it's blue belt, because I've seen plenty of new white belts who not even with heel hooks, not even with leg locks, just in general do things in a role that you're like, whoa, dude, like, no, you know, like you've watched one too many like WWF shows or something.
WWF. That's
WWE. I don't know, but the same thing as far as I'm concerned. But I saw once a purple belt even. So the spazzes at all belts. That was essentially this. Imagine this, bro. So let's say you're playing seated guard and I'm standing in front of you and I step in and, and I wrap a guillotine,
Okay.
like kind of lower my level, squat down, wrap a guillotine, and finish the guillotine there where you're seated and I'm standing. Very standard, well-known attack you can do against someone playing seated guard, or if someone tried to wrestle up on you.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine the same scenario. You're seated. You don't move. You stay there. But I walk around behind you. So I'm standing behind you.
Okay.
And now, despite the fact I'm behind you, I do the exact same movement. I wrap your head, neck.
Oh,
but now I'm behind you, where the lock of my guillotine is at the top of your spine.
Yeah.
And I now hip in and try to.
What the fuck?
I've seen a purple belt do that in a roll.
That's how you kill a man. That's how you kill someone. You could. That's how you snap their fucking neck, dude. That is the dumbest shit ever. That's common sense.
It is horrifying. It is horrifying. So when you have submissions that are just
why would you even do that?
Why I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But when you have submissions positions that can so easily kind of take someone off the mats for 6 weeks, 6 months, a year, it's best that those are restricted until you can operate at a level where you don't sort of make those mistakes. And it takes time. It takes time for you to build a huge amount of intuition and stuff to know when things are wrong, right? Like another way, when I'm then working with students who are new to leg locks. So now let's just say they're a blue belt and they're starting to want to play with it and learn it. And I say, man, like I'm probably the safest person for you to do it with for multiple reasons. Because one, I'm never going to put it on you and rip it. Two, I understand the position we would be in and which way is safe for you to turn and not turn. So if you turned the wrong way and you were going to blow out your own knee, right, I'm going to let go because, that's sort of, years of training and being able to tell that something's going to go wrong. Same if you've got my leg and I can tell that you're about to do something that is the equivalent of that backwards guillotine killer man move. I'm just going to tap and stop you and be like, whoa, hang on, blah, 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 and it's also just training. I'm going to give you plenty of opportunities to actually, catch me in it and put it on. And I'm going to tap well before it injures me because I've had a lot of experience there. So it takes a long time to get that intuition. If you just go, I've been training for 12 months, bam, I'm into this competition that allows everything. I mean, fuck, I just watched my student get both his knees ripped apart from a pretty rudimentary straight footlock, So it just goes to show how easy the injuries can happen.
Yeah, I agree with the whole premise of like the more experienced your training partner in leg locks, the better it is to do leg locks with them. You'd much rather do leg locks with an experienced person than inexperienced. And even when I'm training leg locks with someone that I'm very wary to do leg locks with someone I don't know and I haven't trained with before as well. It's one of those, you probably shouldn't be, but the assumption that their belt carries the prior knowledge, even these days, we're not there yet. In terms of the leg lock game, it's one of those areas of jiu-jitsu that people can get to black belt and just completely neglect. I've trained with black belts before that, you grab their legs and they have no idea what the fuck you're doing. And they're a black belt or even brown belt or purple belt. It doesn't matter. So I think that you can tell a lot about someone's jiu-jitsu in the leg lock game within almost instantaneously whilst rolling with them in leg locks. As soon as you put someone in, like a heel hook, for example, seeing how they react to that, just a basic, whatever. Give me like a ashigarami fucking single leg X style position with or even an outside ashi, basic heel hook, inside, outside, doesn't matter. Just seeing how they initially react to that one position tells you everything you need to know about their leg lock knowledge and their leg lock capability. And depending on how they respond to that will definitely depend on how I roll with them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm definitely a bit more cautious when if I'm training with someone I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I mean, as a black belt, essentially that just means training no gi with them means leg locks are allowed, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
But then it depends. If they're not a black belt, I always give the benefit of the doubt that they don't necessarily have the same rules as our gym. Like if they're a purple belt, I'll be ready for if they try to attack my legs, but I'm not going to attack theirs because I'm going to go, okay, they're not a brown belt yet, and maybe at this gym, or they don't come from a gym that allows this person to do that yet.
Yeah.
So I won't go near it, but for me in the training room, it takes a good amount of trust until I really want to fight heel hooks with someone.
Yeah, definitely. No, totally. I get that. And yeah, I suppose a good practice training at like a gym maybe that you haven't trained at a lot or whatever, or you go to a new gym, it doesn't matter, would be to, either take your advice there and if you're brown belt or above, only do it on brown belts and above, give them the benefit of the doubt, and below just avoid it. But if you're someone like me who is not a brown belt, then asking your training partner if they do leg locks is, I've had heaps of people ask me like, oh, are you comfortable with legs? Particularly when I've trained at grappling education, everyone there, if they don't know me, one of the first things they ask before we roll is like, are you comfortable with leg locks? And I think that's a good practice as well if you wanted to do it.
It's way more ambiguous though in no gi, don't you reckon? Like in the gi, you could probably count, I don't know, just as a guess, but in the gi, how many times would you say that you've had, higher belts jump on toe holds and knee bars in the gi? Like I find in the gi, people are way more by default. No, unless they're brown and black belt, it's only straight foot locks, no toe holds, no knee bars.
Definitely.
But in no gi, it's a little bit more like, hey, this is no gi, and it's a bit more. You're allowed to do this in no gi.
Yeah, it's a bit more of like a free for all. But in saying that, I have had key moments where I remember being a white belt training against purples and then jumping on knee bars and shit just to Ollie. I'm talking to you, Ollie. I'll never forget. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, man, no, totally. I totally agree with that. Definitely agree with that. But yeah, I mean, I've had people do illegal, and it's funny, like you get people doing straight up illegal moves as well. Like I've been training in the gi with another blue belt and them putting the toe hold on the wrong way, which I did to you once when I was a white belt, I think. And you were like, oh, well, okay, yep, that's okay, but that's a heel hook. You just did a heel hook.
It's essentially a heel hook, yeah.
In all intents and purposes, in accordance with the rule, that was a heel hook because you toe holded the wrong way. Yeah. So I've had, month later or whatever, I've had people do that to me and then be like, yep, okay, that's a heel hook, just so you know. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is like, there is a bit of a gap in knowledge, even in the gi, when it comes to the leg game for a lot of people. It's one of those areas that unless you are interested in it, you pursue it in your own time, or your gym is known for it. It's like everyone knows that there are certain gyms out there that leg locks are a big part of that gym's arsenal or whatever, and their culture. So yeah, there is a gap in knowledge from my perspective in the wider jiu-jitsu community in leg locks still to this day.
Yep. So moving on to rules, and so we agree that the rules should be are there to keep athletes safe, right? Essentially, at the end of the day, the rules serve two functions. One, to create parameters for the competition to exist inside, right? Like if it was just no rules, I mean, it may as well essentially be bare knuckle MMA fighting, right? Because so the rules exist. They set the restrictions that make the sport what it is, and secondly, to keep the athletes safe, I think. So we agree with that. Are there any rules that for you stick out that you would like to change? Like, or what about, let's start with a more not too controversial rule to ask the question, should heel hooks be allowed in the gi? As someone who is, trained a lot, but still at a point where you're not competing in competitions so much that allow heel hooks, really, do you think you would want to be doing heel hooks in the gi?
No. And I think my response to this is similar to the way you explained why they're not allowed. Because I remember asking you when I was a white belt, like, why aren't heel hooks allowed in the gi? And one of the reasons that you, at least I'm accrediting this response to you, was, well, imagine if they were, and imagine if lapels were involved in a heel hook. The amount of torque you could generate with a lapel in a heel hook would be very dangerous. And I just think it opens up a world that we don't potentially need. We need to like think about the sport as well. Like, I don't know. I just don't necessarily think it's needed to have heel hooks in the gi. But at the same time, if they were allowed, I wouldn't be up in arms about it. I wouldn't be upset about it. I'd be like, oh, okay, yep, this is the new reality. They're now allowed, so we need to learn it. And yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence, I suppose. I could take it either way.
Yeah, if the rules changed one day, it's not as if I would change of career,
No, I probably wouldn't care, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I would enjoy the addition, because I don't know. It's, first of all, it's just nice to have a rule set where you don't have to worry about.
It's nice to have a break.
Yeah, it's nice to have a rule set where you don't have to necessarily have that threat constantly. But also think a huge issue with it would be how difficult or impossible it would be for you to ever like escape once someone secured a leg entanglement.
Yeah. You can't slip it. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to slip the heel. It's going to be very hard to clear your knee line. That's not even considering just from the friction, let alone the fact that they can be gripping onto the cuff of the pants or grabbing the pants at the knee so you can't slip it. And it would just become so dominant. I don't know. It would be I don't know. It would be interesting to spectate, because perhaps the sport would then go through a period of time similar to how it did in no-gi, where it was just dominated by heel hooks, but now people are way more savvy to either shutting down leg entanglement entries or escaping them. And even at the highest level, usually heel hooks are only getting hit in the early stages of the match, because once you're super sweaty, it's really hard to keep the knee line and not have them slip their heel. But
yeah, definitely.
You could be 10 minutes deep into a match in the gi and it doesn't matter, because all that fabric. I don't know. I don't think I would enjoy the addition, especially as someone with massive flipper feet. I don't think it would I don't think it would work out for me very well.
Yeah. I'm imagining a scenario on you where like someone is deep in the saddle, you're in the gi, and they've wrapped their like lapel around your ankle and then around your heel, and are using it to like fucking just rip you apart. Then you're not going anywhere. Imagine that.
I believe there's a video. Let me just do a 2-second search, I believe there's a video of Cole Abate teaching a heel hook variation in the gi. Yeah, there is. So yeah, it's on Flow Grappling. So if you Cole Abate's gi heel hook series, so it's from 6 months ago. So there's at least one video of Cole Abate teaching a heel hook in the gi, and he's using the lapel.
Yep.
And you know, maybe he's ahead of the game, and the rules will change, and you know,
I wouldn't be surprised if they did, to be honest. Like I
wouldn't be surprised either. And you know, maybe it won't be as bad as
maybe they should change. Fuck it. Yeah. I mean, like you could be a purist and be like, why is anything like obviously grappling related? Why is anything disallowed? So long as it's not going to have the potential to cause death. You know, in the case of that fucking ridiculous reverse guillotine that you were just describing earlier. So long as we're not like literally talking about, you know, front strangulation with the thumbs, or like describing a case or a move like a spiking on the head, something that has high potential to kill someone, right? As long as it's not like that, why shouldn't heel hooks be allowed in the gi? Who fucking cares that we have, that we have lapels? Who fucking cares that it's harder to get out? Just like get better at getting out. There'll be more creative ways of escaping, because surely, like from the experience we have with jiu-jitsu thus far, like name one thing that is for like 100% guaranteed in jiu-jitsu. Name one movement that can't be counted. You can't. If there was something that couldn't be counted, then you know, what's the purpose of jiu-jitsu? Well, it wouldn't be a complex sport. It'd be very simple. Just get your way to that one thing that can't be counted and you win. But that doesn't exist. And it, you know, it's so yeah, shit. Maybe I've changed my mind. Maybe I support gis in heel hooks and gi rather.
I think
it's a weird one.
I think with any rule change, it's more you have to answer the question like, does it add value to the sport? You know, and you know, is it pushing the sport in the right direction? So from I guess what would value be? That it makes the sport more fun, more entertaining.
Yeah, but less restrictive.
But you still then have to you can't ignore the fact that, like I said, rules for any sport exist to create parameters for winning and losing in a competitive environment, you know. So why? So if we go, okay, why can't you heel hook in the gi? And then I go, okay, well, in boxing, why can't I punch you in the quads and start taking your legs out from underneath you? You know, like why am I restricted to? Okay, I get I'm not allowed to hit you in the groin because like that's just. Then we're going into eye gouging and fish hook, you know. So I get I can't hit you, but I'm not allowed to hit you below the belt. Like it's not even about the groin. You know, why can't I punch you in the legs to take your legs? Okay, yeah, cool. I'm not allowed to kick because that's not the sport. But why can't I punch you in the legs? Take your legs out from you. You know, or in tennis, why can't I let the ball bounce twice? Why does that have to be a point? I still got it. I think
a better comparison. You know, but I think a comparison there, why can't I let the ball bounce twice for jiu-jitsu would be, why can't I punch him in the face? Like, because it's not jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
but I don't know about the boxing punching in the quad. Fuck, let him. I don't know.
Yeah, you know.
Let him. Yeah. Punch him in the ankle. I don't give a shit. But yeah, that is a good fucking point. But we don't want to go the direction of judo. We need to learn from judo. What did judo do? They said that you can no longer touch the legs to make the sport more entertaining, or or to stop, basically, correct me if I'm wrong, is to stop wrestlers from coming over to judo and smashing all the traditional judokas, right? Or something like that. There was a bunch of Russians were just destroying the Japanese, and they're like, oh, let's change the rules. That could be like a warped interpretation on the history, because I by no means know the history of judo. But I still think that the fact that judo changed so you can't touch the legs watered down the sport. And now judo's still valuable, but not as much. If I'm being honest. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, fuck, they can't touch the legs. It's similar to the boxing analogy, I suppose.
Yeah. But then I guess it's, so we could, if there was nowhere else that heel hooks existed, then I think you would have more of an argument for putting them in the gi. Like if there was only a such thing as gi jiu-jitsu. But yeah, let's look at wrestling. So Greco-Roman wrestling, you're not allowed to touch the legs, right?
Exactly.
And
it's
so
the judo of wrestling.
You don't go to Greco and be like, yeah, but why can't I touch the legs? It's like, because you're not allowed to in this sport. If you want to touch the legs, go do,
Freestyle.
whatever it is, freestyle wrestling, right? There's somewhere that exists for you to do that, right? Like, but it's not here, right? It's a different.
Yeah, but freestyle wrestling is the superior wrestling by far.
Yeah, so maybe no gi is just the far superior to gi. I don't know, like you
said it, not me.
It's definitely the direction it's going.
Yeah, but why can't you take off their belt and wrap it around their neck and choke them?
Yeah, I think that's more a safety issue, that one.
Yeah, but if it's connected to their waist, you can.
Yeah, if the belt's still on, you can use the what do you call the little dangly bit of the belt? I don't know. You can use the end of the belt if the belt's still on, but yeah, you can't take it off.
Yeah.
I think another it's not quite a perfect analogy, but when I think about heel hooks in the gi and the added friction and how difficult it would be to escape, it makes me think similar to why you're not allowed to grip inside the sleeves and inside the pants. Because the reason you're not allowed to, if you don't know, and I'm just going from what I was told by Fabio, so I don't know if this is just an old wives' tale rule. Maybe there's a different reason, but this is the reason I was always told, is it just having that grip wasn't valuable to jiu-jitsu matches because they really resulted in only 3 outcomes. The grip is like unbreakable. So it's this grip that you can never deal with, or if when you try break the grip, it either tears the gi, which stops the match, right? Or it breaks the dude's fingers, which also stops the match, and no one, not allowed small joint manipulation, I think for pretty obvious reasons. Even in the most aggressive MMA rules, you're not allowed small joint manipulation. And similarly, I think about maybe heel hooks in the gi like that too, where it's kind of like, yeah, but once you get there, there's kind of, it's not like a trump card, but makes, I don't know, yet to be seen. We'll see. But like you said,
but you can put your fingers in your own sleeve.
You can, but you can also let go of your own sleeve.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, if one day the rules changed, I don't think I would be, I'd be like, well, whatever, it is what it is. The higher powers have chosen. I wonder who would make that change. And what I mean by that is really to see the people have the power, right? So I wonder if it would come from if enough, like, I don't know, let's say if Flow Grappling, having the monopoly they have, let's say if they started putting on a Who's Number One event and it was in the gi and they said that you could do heel hooks in the gi and whatever, would enough high-level athletes be for it, and then it becomes more popular from a spectator point of view, and then all of a sudden it's pressures IBJJF to change it? Or I wonder if people would have, if the high-level athletes, I wonder if they would have this posture or point of view. Well, what do you mean heel hooks in the gi? If I want to do heel hooks, I'm just going to do no gi. Like if we say heel hooks are allowed, do you think all of a sudden Gordon Ryan's going to be like, fuck, that's the one thing that was stopping me from putting the gi on?
No, I don't.
Probably not, right?
But I do think now that we're actually fleshing it out, we've been talking about this for like 20 minutes. The more we talk about it, the more I support adding heel hooks to the gi. I changed my position on it. Initially, I started like, I'm okay with the rules. I'm okay with the status quo. But now I'm thinking, nah, fuck it. I think they should be. I think that heel hooks should be allowed in the gi. I don't know why they're magically not allowed. Like you're all of a sudden magically you put your fucking pajamas on and all of a sudden you can't. Your heels are untouchable. It doesn't make any sense. It's not any more dangerous realistically. I think the argument about the lapel that has been used against it, I don't think that's valid. I think it's kind of silly when I really think about it. You've convinced me, Adam. You've convinced me. I think that
I wasn't trying, but
I think that yeah, fuck it, man. I think heel hooks should be allowed in the gi. What the hell? What are we doing? We should throw out the gi if there's no heel hooks. Nah, the gi's dead to me now.
Yeah, I still don't know. Yeah, I can't really.
No, I'm like the more I think about it, the more adamantly I'm like, no, they should 100% be allowed in the gi, and I think that it's probably the last level to unlock because everything else that's banned in the sport, if we're like striking, obviously it's grappling, so that's a no brainer. Like eye gouging, fish hooking, all that dumb shit, oil checking, all that dumb shit. Yep, okay, no, not allowed. That's totally fine. No one really wants that. I think that spine manipulation at the lower levels should definitely still be illegal. Twisters at brown and black, they're still illegal in IBJJF, aren't they?
Yeah, actually, I don't know. I never. I never.
I think twisters
yeah.
are still illegal, and I think they should be allowed. Can opener. I mean, brown and black. Fuck it. Why not? Can opener. Allow it. Yeah, fuck it. I think I'm more. The more I think about it, I think I'm more of the opinion that everything that doesn't lead to, like I said before, someone fucking literally dying or being a paraplegic for the rest of their life should be allowed within the rule set. Yeah.
So essentially anything you can do in no gi, you should be allowed to do in the gi.
100%. Yep.
What about the other way around? Should you be able to do whatever you can do in the gi in no gi?
Yeah, like you stuff like a belt down your pants and you whip it out and tie it on and then choke something. Yeah, totally. Well, yes. I don't think there's anything in no gi that you can't. I don't think there are rules.
You can't grab people's shorts and rashi. You can't grab the clothes in no gi.
Yeah, I think that's okay. And the reason I say that's okay is because it would just rip the clothing. It's not made to be durable. Like, okay, imagine.
But I think it goes further than that, though. It's more just that the clothing in no-gi is because the alternative is
being
no
naked.
Clothes. Yeah,
exactly.
So
exactly my point.
Hence why in ADCC that like IBJJF has more strict rules for the no-gi uniform, but in ADCC you can essentially wear the Shogun Hua little sunga, it's called in Portuguese, the little swimmers, if you will, the little trunks.
Yeah, and black shorts.
Yeah, and nothing else, right?
Yep.
No shirt, no anything, which obviously every single person would do if you were all of a sudden allowed to grab the shorts and the rashi.
Yeah, but imagine, hypothetically, just play along with the thought experiment. Say there was an organization that allowed you to grab the clothing in no-gi, right? What would some crafty fuckers do? They'd make more durable no-gi, so it doesn't rip. And then all of a sudden, you would have a situation where you're just in the fucking gi. Like you would create, like it would slowly over time morph to be back in the gi. It'd be dumb. So I agree with that. I think that not grabbing the clothing is just to not rip your bloody rash guard, mate. And they're expensive. But what makes them cheaper is if you use my discount code. Go to no, I'm not gonna do that. But this has been a weird conversation. We sort of like rabbit hole upon rabbit holes. But there is a rule set I am very glad is in existence, and I stand by this adamantly, is no jumping close guard at white belt. And to be honest, I think maybe they should even take it away for blue belts. I saw recently, it was doing the rounds on Reddit, I believe. It was in some Masters competition at black belt. This guy jumped close guard immediately, and it was a bit of a sloppy jump, and he fucking caved on in the inside of the other dude's knee and completely destroyed his knee. Like everything's torn. It fully folded the wrong way. So like everything in that knee's gone. And that was a black belt Masters. So
I think if you take that out, which to be fair, jumping close guard is something that's allowed, blue belt in the gi. But
Mm.
if we took that out of the sport altogether,
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, because I was going to say you'd have to also, you couldn't outlaw jumping close guard, but then also leave in flying scissor takedowns.
Yeah, or even a flying triangle or a flying armbar, anything flying really.
Yeah.
Anything jumping. No jumping. What the hell? No, I don't think it should be removed from the sport. I'm just happy that they don't allow white belts to do it because a lot of white belts are super keen. They're not like super coordinated either, and they just jump into the side of fucking people's knees. And it's like, why? Why do we need jumping? Just pull guard, man. Just pull guard. Like, you don't need to risk hurting your opponent just so you guarantee close guard at white belt. That's my take on it because I don't want to see people that are new to the sport never train again because of a dumb fucking rule. But I'm not saying that it should be removed from the sport. I can't sit here and say that heel hook should be added in the gi, but then have a problem with jumping close guard. That would make me a bitch. But I kind of like that. Okay, here's one thing I want to bring up because we're sort of fucking going around the place. I am okay with gyms having specific rules, like their own, like house rules. You know what I mean? Like taking a position that can be considered dangerous and being like, at this gym, we'll teach it, we'll drill it, but not in live roles. Like, whatever it may be. I'm okay with that. The only thing that is an issue with it is, well, there's two things. If you go to another gym and they don't have that rule and then it gets done on you, you may not know how to react in a live role. And the next thing I'll say is new people to the gym may not know about that in-house rule. Like whether they come from another gym, maybe they're a fucking blue belt from wherever or, whatever. Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any techniques I don't let people do in the gym other than jumping close guard, really. Is the main one. But yeah, I agree with you because you have to, let's say even jumping close guard, we'll still drill it and sometimes do drills where you're allowed to do it in some form of a live roll because I say to students, I go, it's not only about you being able to jump correctly so you don't injure the person you're jumping close guard on. You also need to know how to catch someone who jumps close guard on you because you can hurt yourself by someone jumping close guard on you. They jump close guard correctly, but you don't know how to catch 60, 70, 80, 90 kilos, whatever it is, flying at you. Which reminds me, so we had on the weekend a Subversion, which for those who don't know is a local Sydney competition that's like a who's number one sort of a competition. You just have your one match. And last week, Kieren was talking about the ADCC trials. We had big Josh Saunders. It's like 120 kilos or something who won the heavyweight division. And he fought on Subversion and at a point in his match, he jumped close guard.
Really?
Yeah.
No way. Holy shit. Imagine Josh fucking Saunders jumping close guard on you.
My friend Ari was commentating and he was like, it's about the last person in the world I would want jumping close guard. I was like, yeah, bro. But he jumped close guard correctly. It's not like he did it incorrectly. It's just like, fuck, it's a lot of mass. Imagine someone just, let's say a strong man or someone who can very easily pick up hundreds of kilos of weight. Imagine if Brian Shaw just picked up, cleaned 120 kilos and just chucked it at you. You'd be like, man, like fuck that, bro.
Fuck that. You've been picked up with someone. Joey picked you up once when you were in a triangle, right? And he had you like up in the air.
You know who also deadlifted out of my triangle? Yeah, so Joey did that to then where I was above his head.
Yeah.
But Jordan also did that. So we haven't spoken about this on the podcast yet, but long story short, Jordan Teaches Jiujitsu came and visited the gym a few weeks back and we were rolling, and he's not that much smaller than me in terms of weight, but he's a very strong dude. And he completely picked me up. Like 95 kilos hanging from the back of his neck.
Fuck
and
yeah.
just stood up.
Fuck yeah.
And I
yes.
And I was like, holy, and then I slipped off. And as I slipped off, I was like, bro, not many people are deadlifting out of my triangle. I was like, that's impressive, bro.
I did.
I mean, and you've been in my triangles. Like, I mean, you're a strong dude, and you know what it's like to try deadlift out of my triangle, right?
I've never deadlifted out of your triangle. I did do it to a black belt here in Sweden who's about 90 kilos recently, but it was really awkward because I deadlifted him all the way up. He's completely above my head, and then we're kind of like stuck there, and because he couldn't release it, you know, because he would just fall and like potentially hurt himself or whatever. So I had to just put him back down. So he was up in the air, and I was like just talking to him. I'm like, oh, we're kind of stuck here, aren't we? And he's like, yep.
You're just doing it for reps.
Yeah, bro. Just like repping it like a Zercher deadlift. But I ended up putting him down, and then I jumped for that deadlift escape, like that. Not deadlift escape, but the back extension escape, where you put your legs over the top of them and then just extend your back. So I ended up doing that and got out. But yeah, that's so cool that Jordan deadlifted you. That's so mad.
Yeah. It's only ever happened to me twice, Joey and Jordan.
So cool.
Yeah. But it was funny.
Fuck, I'm gonna have to do it now. I can't be outdone.
Yeah, it's such a rare occurrence. It's like, I'm not even mad. That was very impressive. You know, like I'm not, you know, I mean, like what is it, like the Anchorman in Anchorman where what's his name, Ron Burgundy or whatever his name is, and his dog like opens the fridge and eats a whole block of cheese or something. He's like, I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. You know, it's like
I was seeing that movie in a long time.
Same situation.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I've come to the end of this conversation still undecided as to, you know, like if we were taking some vote that was going to actually count, like let's say there was some international vote to change for heel hooks in the gi or not, and I had to vote, I don't know. I mean, if you ask me the question again next week where I've actually had time to sit and really think about it, I might have an answer. But if you asked me right now, I don't know. I don't know if I would vote. Yes,
I know exactly what I'd vote for now that, you know, it's very clear. I'd definitely vote for allowing them. And you know what? I'm going to put this out on a poll on my YouTube. I'm going to do it right now. We need to put this to the community. So if you're listening to this and it's still live, go to my YouTube and vote, because I'll send this directly to IBJJF and we'll get the rules changed. Should heel hooks be allowed, or should heel hooks be legal in the gi? Yes.
I would.
No. What is a gi?
Yeah. I'd be interested to hear what some of the bigger influential people in the sport are, you know. So, you know, what's the top, some of the top coaches in the world think? Like, what does John Danaher think? What does Andre Galvao think? You know,
I know what Danaher thinks. Why would you ignore 50% of the body, baby?
Yeah. What do the Mendez brothers think? And then what do some of the top competitors, gi and no gi, think? You know,
well,
does Marigali think? What does
if Kolabate is you know, unless he invented it himself, he's obviously getting it from somewhere, which he may have invented it himself. The kid's a fucking wizard. But I mean, we at least know what you know, some people in the top think, and I think a lot of I overwhelmingly the majority of no gi competitors would probably support having heel hooks in the gi. And the more I like think about it, like it sound like a fucking broken record, but it just makes sense. Like, why is it illegal? I think it's dumb. And realistically, let's look at the rule set coming from IBJJF. Up until like 2 years ago, maybe a year ago. When was the first no gi worlds that heel hooks were allowed? 2 years ago, I think. Up until 2 years ago, heel hooks weren't even legal at IBJJF no gi. So, you know, why? Dumb, right? Fucking dumb. Yeah, I think it's the next evolution.
It's still not allowed for masters, which is dumb as well.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Like I get the initial thought process of, well, they're older, shit's more fragile. Like I don't know. Like maybe at a certain age, like I don't know, if you're master 6, master 7, I don't know. Like,
but then why are arm bars legal, but heel hooks aren't. You're going to have risk either way when it comes to joint manipulation for injuries. And even jumping close, can you jump close guard at Masters? Like I just described. Yes, you can, because, some dude blew out his fucking destroyed his knee. So no, I think it's dumb. I think having rules for children that are different is totally fine. I'm totally okay with that. Absolutely no issues with that because, they're children and we need to protect children. And if we can do that through the rule set, fantastic. But when it comes to adult plus, you should have the same rules across the board within your belt rank, of course, mitigating risk. But yeah, I don't know why. I don't think that they should be illegal.
Like when you have someone who's functioned in a rule set of heel hooks all the way up till they turn 30 and then they go into masters and all of a sudden they're not allowed to do them anymore.
Dumb.
Is pretty
dumb.
Stupid.
It's very stupid. I think it's dumb. Anyway. Well, rules. That was a weird conversation, a little bit back and forth, but that's my take.
Well, complete change now, because now I'm going to give you my something interesting that has nothing to do with rules whatsoever. And it's pretty on brand for what has been my something interesting over the last few weeks, which has all been food related, because it's kind of what's running my life at the moment.
Okay.
This is new to me and has become so good. So good. Have you heard, you've obviously heard, everyone knows that you can buy ice cream makers. Have you heard of the new ice cream maker? It's the brand Ninja that make blenders and shit.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's called the Ninja Ice Creamy with an I on the end.
Okay.
I bought one. This thing is the fucking best, bro. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you a bit about this.
I bought one.
Yeah. Let me tell you a little bit about this piece of hardware. So anyone who's listening who is already knows what I'm talking about, they'll be like, hell yeah, bro.
Okay.
So this thing, first of all, so you can make, I don't know if this brand exists in other countries, but Halo Top is a very common brand in Australia for
it's
healthy protein ice cream, right?
It's everywhere.
Where you can get a little tub of it that's 450, 500 mils or something, whatever it is. And it'll a pint or whatever. Mm-hmm. And depending on the flavor, it'll be 280 to 380 calories or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this ice cream maker, you can essentially make better versions of Halo Top ice cream for the same calories, and it actually makes a bigger volume. So what I now eat, it's more than a pint, bro, that I make. It's more than a pint. I now get to eat a whole tub of ice cream every day, because all I have meant, and I'll tell you more about this thing and the technology and how it works. It's crazy, because all I have to do is I would typically have a protein shake at the end of training of night, just to get more protein in and ease of, I'm about to jump on a motorbike, so just throw it back or whatever. Yeah. So now all I have to do is the protein powder calories were already being accounted for. So now I'm just not having a protein shake, and all I have to do is mix this concoction with milk instead of water. So you have to, as long as you've got the calories spare to use milk instead of water, this shit turns it into fucking ice cream, bro. And I'm not joking. I'm not joking. So a regular ice cream maker, you make typically what's called an anglaise. You make a mixture of cream and egg yolks or whatever, if you're making a proper gelato ice cream, whatever. You make this mixture, and then it goes into an ice cream machine that is a super chilled bowl that, cools the mixture, and it keeps scraping the mixture so it doesn't just turn into a block of ice, and keeps, emulsifying it as it chills and scrapes the edges, chills and scrapes the edges, and you get ice cream.
Okay.
This works the opposite. So what you do is you make the mixture in the little container and then you freeze it. And then the next day you put this frozen block. I mean, you imagine if you freeze a cup of milk, it's just ice, right? It's just icy milk. It is not ice cream. But then you put it in the Ninja machine and it turns it into ice cream. This is how this came about. So there was a company called IBJJ that would make that had the patent for this technology. It was invented by some Swiss engineer. And the patent expired and Ninja were like, yoink, and took it. Ninja sell this ice cream maker for $300. IBJJ, a quick Google at a IBJJ ice cream maker. Take a guess how much you think it is.
I have no idea. Like
$13,000.
Holy shit. Those scammers.
So I believe IBBJ essentially, and this is just a very quick Google search of IBBJ, right? So it's not like I've spent heaps of time looking at the cheapest, most expensive, whatever. Maybe the IBBJ makes slightly better ice cream, but they would sell it to restaurants, right? Because restaurants then, they don't have to make it on glaze and do this. A restaurant can just have tubs and tubs and tubs and tubs of this frozen mixture. And then they just put it in a machine. Dude, it takes 3 minutes and it turns the frozen block of ice into fucking ice cream. And it's been the best addition to my life since a week ago that I got it. I literally now, instead of having a protein shake at night, I get to eat a tub of protein ice cream.
Okay.
It's the best. If anyone is addicted to ice cream and you like protein ice cream, and you can make the full fat regular ice cream in it as well. But I essentially make my own Halo top every night now instead of having a protein shake. And that's what I was eating when we started recording. A whole big fucking tub of ice cream. It's
and if you go to ninjakitchen.com and use promo code Beyond Jiu-Jitsu, you can save 10%.
use promo code Adam. Promo code Adam's a fat piece of shit. You can save,
this episode is brought to you by Ninja Creamy.
Dude,
wow. That was an infomercial and a half, my guy.
They're just if you're into ice cream and trying to not eat a tub of Ben and Jerry's every day, you wouldn't believe how cool this machine is. I fucking love it.
You wouldn't believe it's not Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Well, yeah, definitely doesn't taste like Ben and Jerry's. But anyway, it's my jam. Fucking ice cream every day.
My something interesting is if you go to my YouTube channel right now, you can vote on a should heel hooks be legal?
I've got this poll that I swear I didn't just come up with it. But
we already have some responses. Guess what the percentage split is at the moment?
Well, how many responses are there?
Well, that's irrelevant. But guess what the percentage split is?
100% of people.
No, it's not 100. It's 80-20 to who do you think's winning?
That there should be allowed.
Yeah, absolutely. 80-20 to yes to no. But, early days, I reckon we'll probably get about 100 votes, maybe.
I reckon most people will vote for yes.
I think so too. Yeah. And then we should have a caveat. We should have had a second poll saying, what is your belt level? Like if you voted on this, then you have to tell us your belt. That would be a good way of doing it. I'd like to see the distribution split because I would hazard a guess to say that statistically speaking, people that are brown belt and above are more likely to vote no. And if we correlate it between how long you've been training jiu-jitsu versus whether you think heel hooks should be allowed in the gi, I think the longer that you have trained for, the more likely you are to vote no.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I know we're now to the end of the episode, so we're not going to keep going over it, but I'm trying to think. Trying to think if there's any specific positions or techniques I really enjoy in the gi that would be completely ruined by heel hooks being allowed.
I can't think of anything.
Yeah. Not really sure. Like nothing glaringly stands out, but obviously just positions like, X guard and 50-50 and all of that would then become
better,
insanely more powerful.
Yeah. Oh, we got more votes. It's now 71-29.
All right, guys, this is now a live stream.
Live counting. Okay. Let's wrap this up. This is dog shit.
Yep, guys. Well, obviously, if the poll's still up when you listen to this episode, sure, go on there, submit. Otherwise, send us directly on Instagram or YouTube or whatever. Tell us what you think. Do you think heel hooks should be allowed in the gi? And if you are going to take the effort to send us a message on Instagram, whether it's to me, Kieren, or to the podcast Instagram, whatever, if you are going to take the effort to send us a message, let us know your belt level as well, because I think that would be interesting to
not that would dismiss your opinion. I just want to prove my theory.
I'm also curious if any listener maybe would send us a message saying, I train at a gym where we allow heel hooks in the gi. For sure, those gyms would exist. There'd be plenty of them around the world where people would already train with heel hooks being allowed in the gi. So
I've seen people teach heel hooks in the gi and be like, hey, this is not allowed in no gi, but we're doing heel hooks today in the gi. I've seen that. I've seen a black belt heel hook someone in the gi before because they wanted to get a sub. Not naming names, but you know who you are. That's
all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. As always, go to Kieren's YouTube, click on the poll. We want to know. But until next time, we'll catch you then.